This is the Blockchain Real Estate Podcast, sponsored by the Blockchain Real Estate Summit. If you're interested in the intersection of real estate, blockchain technology, AI, and more, you've come to the right place. Don't miss your opportunity to attend the Blockchain Real Estate Summit 2024, happening this September 24th through 26th, online for our worldwide audience. Get your tickets at blockchainrealestatesummit.com/registration. Enjoy the show.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Blockchain Real Estate Summit podcast. I am Michael Flight, and as always, nothing in this podcast is financial, legal, or accounting advice, but wanted to let you know we've got a really exciting episode coming up. We have a Tuscany National golf course. So it is a golf course resort in beautiful Tuscany. And this is exactly what I think that tokenization is all about, because people from all over the world are going to be able to own a piece of Tuscany. But before we start, I want to remind everybody that the Blockchain Real Estate Summit is September 24th through 26th, 3 whole days of excitement, of learning about blockchain real estate and how blockchain is applied to various areas of real estate. We've already got speakers from about 35 different countries, and we'll probably have speakers from 45 different countries. A blockchain real estate summit is in 3 time zones. So the first day we're kind of concentrated on Europe. The next day we're concentrated on Asia, and it will be in the Asian time zone. So I got to get up very early in the morning for that one. And then the next day is the Americas, North and South America. So with that, I would like to introduce the team here with Tuscany National, and that is Scott Brown, Mike Frost, and Courtney Brown. So Scott, why don't you tell us, because what I'm really interested in is your development experience and, actually your world travel experience and everything else. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your biography, and how you and Mike got together, and then we'll go to Mike.
Sure. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate the introduction. I'll give a brief background. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. My first work experience was overseas in Australia and New Zealand. My family brought the Columbia Sportswear franchise to Australia and New Zealand, and I spent my first 4 years building that business, and then came back to the United States and spent 10 years at Merrill Lynch in San Francisco. In the downtown office there, had a wonderful career, but my entrepreneurial spirit pulled me away. And in 2005, I founded ABA Hospitality at the time, and ABA Hospitality was founded purely to be a hotel development company. And we were founded, and our first capital was private equity out of Boston, and they were our partners for 18 years. And our primary business model was branded hotels, Marriott's and Hyatt's. Through the years, as the markets fluctuated, we got into construction, we got into hotel consulting. And in 2013, through a project that we were looking at in Florida, my team met Mike's team, and it was love at first sight. And so for him, no, it was mutual. But we started collaborating on projects around 2013 and have been involved in multiple projects as far as Aruba. And Mike and I bought the Snowmass Club together in 2018, which was our last partnership project. So our teams have been working together for many years, and the Snowmass Club is a resort in Snowmass, Colorado, with condo hotel units, apartments, 18-hole golf course, swimming, tennis, your typical country club. And so my background is finance and hospitality and development. And we'll get into Tuscany, I assume, in a minute here. So I'll leave it at that.
Right. We'd like to get to know a little bit more about Mike and Courtney. So Mike, why don't you tell us a little bit about, because you look like you've had a little bit of a battle scars and gone through everything and, gone through a few cycles, which is what I like to talk to people about. So.
Absolutely. Thank you, Michael. I'm the senior member of the team, I guess you could say. I won't say how senior, but it's considerable. My company is Buena Vista Hospitality Group. We've been in the hotel resort, golf club development operation space for about 40 years. I originally started my career like Scott did as a stockbroker, and I grew up in the securities business until I formed a company to syndicate real estate in 1972. Back in those days, you could deduct passive losses from your regular income. So there was a whole industry built up around that where people would purchase depreciating income producing real estate, form partnerships, bring in high tax paying individuals to shelter their regular income through the depreciation losses that are generated by those kinds of projects. That all ended with the Tax Reform Act of 1986.
I was just going to say, I started my career for one of those larger companies. They own 270 shopping centers nationwide, bunch of doctors and dentists that the stuff never made money at all, but they were getting the deductions on them.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
as you said, everything came to a screeching halt as soon as they changed the tax laws. So
Yes, yeah, absolutely did. And along the way, we did mostly apartments and office in our syndications, but we bought our first hotel in Walt Disney World in 1975. That was a Hotel Royal Plaza, and it was our first venture into the hotel space. It became our avocation after we got acclimated. We were given the right by Disney to build the first new hotel in Walt Disney World after the original group that were developed in the early 70s. And we developed, owned and operated the Buena Vista Palace
okay.
in Walt Disney World, 1,026 room hotel, major convention destination hotel. We were in joint venture with Equitable Life on that project. But it obviously we were very deep into the hotel space by then. When the '86 Act happened, we started offering our services to other developers and institutions, and it just our business grew from there. We had projects in Europe, United States, Canada, Mexico, Brazil, Cyprus, and we did our first project in Italy starting in 2005. And that's how I got into Italy and got the fellow that hired us ultimately became our partner in Italy and ultimately led us to the Tuscany project. Along the way, we got very heavily involved in golf. We were hired to run PGA National down in Palm Beach Gardens, the home of the PGA of America. Which
is just a stunning project.
Stunning, absolutely stunning. So we were very deep into that space, and it led us to projects like Tuscany National.
Okay. All right. Well, and then last but certainly the most pleasant looking person on the call today in the podcast, Courtney, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I don't know if I can do as great of a job as Mike just did on his intro, but I'm going to try. My background is primarily real estate. I was licensed in 2018, which is one hell of a time to start to sell real estate. So anything from first-time home buyers. I worked at banks, hard money lending, and also retail mortgages like Quicken Loans. I did that for quite some time. I have licenses in other states as well. When COVID hit, and remote working became kind of a thing to do, I stumbled across Roofstock. It was a technology platform that enabled people to invest in single family real estate from around the globe. That was their mission. So I came on to the team, and at first I was managing their retail transaction marketplace, which was exactly what I just said. People would come on from anywhere. We would give them all the tools and all the data to underwrite homes and purchase homes. After about a year and a half, I had the opportunity to switch over to the blockchain team. Basically, what had happened was our board, since we're a tech company, kind of had a discussion of how do we utilize Web3 technology within our industry. And it was decided that, hey, we sell single family rentals. How can we sell a single family rental via Web3 technology? I'm going to say about a year of iterations on how to not make this a security, because we wanted to protect the Web2 company pre-IPO. So about a year of legal back and forths and iteration after iteration, we finally had a successful sale. And then we had 3 additional successful sales. So we were able to fully execute a transfer of ownership from a sale of a property via an NFT on Ethereum mainnet. This was 2.5 years ago now. And so I really dove extremely deep into the RWA pool, and more than just RWA real estate itself, tokenized real estate. So when we talk about RWA, it could be something such as a sneaker collection or a high dollar watch collection. My skill set is really tokenized real estate and how we can improve, innovate, whatever you want to call it, the real estate market, which is a super legacy industry, with the tools and technology that blockchain brings.
And I would like to back up a little bit on what you said, and then we'll circle back to the glamour part of it with the luxury resort. But let's talk about RWA is real world assets. So that
Correct.
could be real estate. It could be, as you said, sneakers or something like that. You brought up a really good point, because most of the time in what we're talking about today with Tuscany National IT is a security. So you're buying a share in a luxury golf resort in the middle of lovely, Tuscany, Italy. But how did you avoid? So it was an NFT sold from one seller to another seller. So there wasn't multiple
Correct.
shareholders
Correct.
in-house, correct?
Yes. So we had very tight rails that we had to stay within. People think that, and I'm sure you know this, people think that a house gets tokenized. It's not the house that gets tokenized. It's the means in which the house, the ownership representation. So in our situation, we figured out that a Wyoming single member managed LLC can transfer ownership. The NFT is wrapped in the LLC, and likewise, they both speak to each other. And that is what technically transfers on the blockchain. So it's just the ownership interest that's being transferred. And if it is one member purchasing the LLC, it does not pertain to a security.
Right. And the LLC holds title to the real estate.
Correct. It has all the same ownership rights as anyone else would. Correct.
It's just like a normal LLC. Like, if I would go out and buy my own house, I would normally put it into an LLC too, just for asset protection, everything else. So an LLC, in other terms, sometimes it's called an SPV, a special purpose vehicle. So, but that's interesting. But what we're here to talk about now is, why don't you give us a little bit, and whoever wants to, give us a little bit of information on Tuscany National, and what you guys have out there, and what you're doing with it.
I'll be happy to start. I think a little background on how we got involved with Tuscany National probably is meaningful. As I indicated, that we started in Italy in 2005, working for a fellow by the name of Francesco Morowitz in Venice, and we were doing a project for him in Venice. And As I said, he became our partner. Francesco was a very plugged in guy in Italy. He was the former head of Pirelli Real Estate. So he really knew, all the people in the space in Italy. The Romiti family is the original developer of the Tuscany National Project. And Cesar Romiti, the senior Romiti, a famous guy, was the CEO of Fiat and Ferrari for about 30 years. So obviously a very prominent group. The family had an affinity to the Cortona area. They had one time had a family house there, and they made the decision as a family to purchase land and build a destination golf spa resort, which they did. They spent years going through the permitting process, which is very rigorous in Italy. But they got the project underway in 2015. Along late 2016, the elder Romiti realized the family had way too much money in the deal. They were really upside down with the investment, and he called Francesco in, who he knew well, to see what Francesco could do to help. And Francesco then brought us in. We started dialogue with Romiti's in late 2016. It was obvious they did, in fact, have way too much money in the deal, and I counseled them that if they were going to attract additional capital, they would have to take a back seat to that new capital and write down their investment. Otherwise, nobody would, risk new money to come in and finish the project. Long conversation. COVID came along. Everything stopped for 3 years, and we took it back up after, COVID diminished, and ultimately made a deal with the Romitis to purchase 80% of their company that was the developer of Tuscany National.
Okay.
And we can get into the details of the structure as we go along.
I don't think we really need to get into the details of the structure. What I would like to hear about is it's very near Cortona, Italy, correct?
It is Cortona. Yeah, Mike said Corona. I think he was thinking about
Oh, I didn't hear that.
It's not quite beer time yet.
Yeah, it is Cortona. Yes, it looks up into the village of Cortona. If you were to walk straight across, it'd probably be a couple miles, but you meander through the vineyard roads, and it takes about 15 minutes to get from the resort into the center of town.
And I was on a call yesterday with my friend Bill, who I was telling you about earlier. And as soon as I mentioned Cortona, Bill said, "Oh, that's where the movie was made." So can you tell us a little bit about what movie and what book he's talking about?
So the movie is Under the Tuscan Sun, and it was a book at first, and the book became a movie. And in the real life story, the lady got a divorce, went from San Francisco on a bus tour through Tuscany, Italy. She stopped in Cortona, got off the bus, and never got back on, and is still there. And it's a beautiful medieval village. It's 3,000 years old. It's up on a hill, typical Tuscan village. And so that's what made the village famous.
But I just wanted to set the scene for where this, resort is at, that, it would make somebody stop their whole life and stay there. So
it's a beautiful location, and the Romiti family, it's a popular destination for city, individuals who live in the city to have a second or third home.
Very nice. Very nice. So why don't we get into a little bit about some of the aspects of the thing. So well, actually, let's get into first because I know Courtney was talking about how she started looking into real estate tokenization and everything tokenization. So part of the thing that you guys really wanted to do was see if you could raise money through tokenizing the shares of this property. Why do you think that's advantageous for a situation like this? And
So
is this your first time tokenizing?
yeah, that's a great question. Thank you for asking. So we've been in the resort hotel development business. I have 20 years, Mike, as you mentioned, 40. And there are, I went through 2008 and 2020 with COVID, and the cycles, you're either up or down or sideways, and financing these deals is, private equity, institutional capital. And when the markets are hot, everyone's throwing money at them. When the markets are not, you're financing your own deals, and it's extremely challenging. And we, coming out of COVID, Mike and I decided to focus really on building a lifestyle brand. COVID really pushed everyone from the urban market to the suburban or the drive-to market, really, right? Which was pre-COVID. The risky resort was, that's the far end of the scale. And after COVID and during COVID, if you could drive and play golf, it was the prime real estate. And so we decided to focus our next generation of business around that model. And as we are involved in another project in Central California, a resort that we were going to build a hotel, and the financing just was near impossible. Terms were horrible, and really put a lot of pressure on the deal. And Courtney was doing the tokenization of the residential while we were scratching our heads trying to finance $150 million resort development. And as they had success tokenizing residential, I followed this for a couple of years, and we had Tuscany sitting on the back burner, and we were about to start focusing on Tuscany and bringing it to market. And a light bulb moment happened between myself and Courtney, which was, why don't we tokenize Tuscany? It's a way to finance a deal where there's a new subset of investors that have this capital that never existed before, and now all of a sudden the capital is becoming mature, it's becoming real crypto, and it's now something that's people are willing to use and diversify. And so we, in the token being on the blockchain, is a very attractive place to be for all of the advantages of being decentralized and digital and transfer of ownership and all of the things that a digital share allows you to do. And so it was just an absolute no-brainer for us. And so we put into motion the same sort of strategy that she had used, slightly different with the residential, but we put together a team to tokenize Tuscany.
You guys kind of took my friend Stefan DeBate's model that he did with Aspen Coin with the Ritz-Carlton in Aspen, right? You use that kind of as a guide to say, here's a elegant, luxurious resort, and it successfully raised the capital, and it's now
Absolutely
correct.
So,
there's
okay.
a lot of players within this space that speak about blockchain, and they speak about the technology and the infrastructure, but they haven't actually executed on something. So one of our biggest, I think I can pinpoint it to Scott and I had the conversation on August, and then in October or maybe October, we made the decision to tokenize, and then we launched in April. So a million moving pieces all throughout that time. And it really was, who has successfully executed on this, that we can basically take what they've done and use their mold, but just on a different project.
Okay. So, and why don't you tell us a little bit more about the resort itself, and what what you're developing out there?
So the resort's 85% done. The hotel is 47 keys with a blend of suites and standard king double queens, typical lobby, full service restaurant. The hub of Tuscany National Resort and Club is about 12 acres, and the 12 acres is what I call the village. And the village has the hotel, a spa, and 23 villas. And of the 23 villas, 6 of those villas are 3 plus an office, freestanding villas. And then the remaining villas are 2-bedroom in 3 pods attached condos. And they're typical of a golf villa. There's hot tubs outside, yard, grass, and there's walkways, streets.
Like townhomes, but it's a beautiful Italian, Tuscan style townhome.
Correct. Wrapped around a golf course, a Gary Player golf course wraps around, and vineyards on the sides that there's not a golf course. And then we also have a 5-bedroom villa that was pre-Tuscany National Resort. It's been there for over 100 years, which is also part of our property that we will either sell or use for events, weddings, and such. But it's a 200-acre property with a 12-acre centerpiece, which has the hotel, condos, and then the golf. And Mike, if there's anything you want to add to that, I think I hit most of it.
Yeah, I think you hit all the high points, and I think as you said, the property is about 85% done. The buildings are all built, largely equipped. We think that we can be in operation in about 9 months from when we shoot the gun.
Okay.
And so it's not a long development cycle. 9 holes of the Gary Player golf course were built originally when the resort was built, and they were grassed. Those holes were grassed and maintained until COVID. And when COVID came, the maintenance ceased. So we got to regrass the 9 holes that were built, and we still have 9 holes, the remaining 9 holes to
talk
build.
about the 360 views, so that if you're like looking around the property, you're either looking at the village of Cortona, or you're looking at rolling Tuscan hillsides with vineyards, or you're looking at going to be a beautiful Gary Player golf course when it's completed, correct?
All the above.
Yeah. With a glass of wine right in front of you, a local glass of wine right in front of you.
Yeah,
that's correct. Yes.
The hotel building, interestingly, has a rooftop deck.
Okay.
And it was designed for what you would imagine on a rooftop deck to be. And when you're up on the roof, which is, I guess, the roof is top of floor 4 or 5. I can't remember, but you get a great view. You're looking out over everything. Then besides the normal ground view.
And I also wanted to key in on something that Scott said, which is very unusual for Tuscany. He said double queens and king beds. So that's not something that you get often in Tuscany or Italy. So
Correct.
That's what I look for.
Yeah, well, you also don't get a lot of freestanding golf villas.
Right.
That's not as common. It's there, but to pull up and drive into a 12-acre village and pull into your driveway and have some room to do that. A lot of times, even Cortona, you can't drive into, in the walls. You've got to park and walk in. So
you guys have had situations where there's been close to 20 or 30 Ferraris driving in at one time.
At least. Yes. Yes. It's the kind of place, if you wanted to take your laptop and go for 30 or 60 days, it's a great hub. It's the place to do it.
Right. And also what you mentioned about the golf, I think in central Italy, there's only about 5 or 7 golf courses in all of central Italy, correct? So this is like something that's a premium type of,
In all of Italy, their last count I got was 256 in all of Italy.
right.
So you can imagine that they're pretty spread out.
But
And the
especially in this area, there's, you know, like the entire center of Italy, there's not much here to find something great in Tuscany.
exactly. The other,
Very
I think,
difficult to develop.
Yeah.
right. The other interesting aspect in Italy as well as Europe, it's very unusual to have a destination resort in one place like we are used to in the United States, where
Okay.
the hotel, the spa, the golf, and all the amenities are all part of the same complex. You know, over time, these things have developed in Europe, where the golf course was down the road and the spa was over in the next town, and it just wasn't a under one umbrella kind of operation like we're used to. So it's very unique in that regard.
And let's also talk about, and then we'll get back into, you know, the tokenization part of it and how people can get more information on it. But why don't you tell us a little bit about if somebody bought into the villas or you know, some of the stuff you've got for sale, those can also be put into the rental pool, correct?
Actually, we're if you buy a villa, it is an obligation to put the villa into the rental program.
Okay.
The villas were not designed for permanent residence. They were designed as resort accommodations. So you wouldn't live in it. You could live in it, but it wouldn't be with all the closet space and all that you would want. There are obviously full kitchens and dining rooms and all that, but it's meant for resort accommodations. So
Okay.
we have a rental program that you would sign into, and there's a whole document on how that works, and
Right, but the true benefit of that is that you potentially get some of your money back that you've invested in the, you know, the villas and
correct,
the
correct.
stuff for sale. So,
Yeah, besides the value of the usage, when you use it yourself,
yes,
there's an income stream.
right. But I'm always, since I'm in real estate, always interested in dual use. It's like, you know, to me, it never made sense. It doesn't make sense to me to lease a car, and it doesn't make sense to own a house individually if you can't, like, you know, lease something out. So that's just my thought. So that's why I'm excited about, you know, when people do the hotel rental pool thing, because you can defer some of your expenses.
Correct, correct.
All right. So if somebody wanted to, and this is a Regulation C offering in the United States, correct?
Reg D.
I'm
D.
sorry, Reg D, you know, subsection C.
Right.
So if somebody wanted to invest in this, they would need to be an accredited investor, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And if they wanted more information, where would they go to find that?
On
If you
go ahead, Jeff.
www.tuscanynationalresortandclub.it. They could get general information on the offering, and if they scroll all the way down to the bottom, there's hyperlinks to all of the documents, including the cash flow projections. And if someone wanted to learn a little bit more about the golf and the membership, they could go to parkstreet.com, and that's www.parkstreet.com, and that will share the membership tiers and the pricing and what you get with them, and so there's more information there as well.
And we should probably stress that Tuscany National Resort and Club and is spelled out, correct?
That's correct, and it's .it for Italy.
Yeah, yeah. And if somebody wanted to know more about, you know, some of the developments, or if they were looking for, you know, an experienced development partner, where do you think they would go?
in the link that's on the site, the private placement memorandum
Right.
has got all the background on Scott and myself and our companies.
Right, but Scott, or I'm sorry, Mike, I was specifically asking, what's your website?
Oh, my website,
Yeah.
www.bvhg, boy victor henry good.com.
Okay, perfect. Well, we're gonna have all these links in the show notes and a few more things for you. But I really want to thank the three of you for coming on. I'm very excited about this project because um, it, not to denigrate anything that you did, Courtney, I'm just really not excited about single family houses, you know?
I hear you. I hear you. I mean, it's literally how we came to this. I've seen the challenges with why does someone want to buy full ownership with the full responsibilities of ownership? And this was the aha moment that Scott and I had. So I get it. No offense
Yeah.
taken.
No,
Michael, it's called the pivot.
Yes.
We
but the
pivoted
other
to
thing that
Tuscany.
I think you know, if you're going to get the securitized tokens, you know, off the ground, and if you're going to get, it's like it has to stir the imagination, which is
Yeah.
why I keep trying to paint the picture of, you know, you are going to own a piece of, you know, something that's been there, you know, and built up for thousands of years. It's got the beautiful culture, and it's world renowned for, you know, vineyards and everything. And it's a one of a kind that you've got a Gary Player golf course with it too. So that's why I'm excited about it, because I think it's gonna, you know, bring, you know, the tokenized and the capital raising, you know, pull it forward into the future. Because there's people out there doing great stuff with Section 8 housing and everything. I'm just not interested in that. I'm interested in, you know, lifting stuff up. And there's a place for the Section 8 housing, but I think this will truly bring people from all over the world to invest in it. Because it's like, well, you know, if you're in, you know, Asia, if you're in, you know, the Middle East, if you're in Europe, or if you're in the United States, or, you know, in South America, it's like, who wouldn't want to own a piece of Tuscany?
We
Well,
truly
that's a really great
travel.
point. That last comment you made, Michael, excuse me, Courtney, for interrupting. But we created the membership website. Usually you have the club, you open the club, and then you have a membership sales program. We created the membership website because we want people around the world to hear about it, look at it. We're only selling 550 memberships. And if they're in Japan or Venezuela, or pick your country, you can buy a membership. And, you know, our goal is to have a diverse group of people like-minded around the globe that meet in Tuscany for events, play golf, wine dinners, tours. And, you know, it's a global experience versus what's traditional. And so that's what's really exciting for us.
Right. And Courtney, you were going to say something?
Yeah,
Sorry.
I was going to say what excites me about this project too is we're straddling both the Web 2 fence and the Web 3, where this is a tangible asset. Whoever has invested in real estate understands that. But then you have someone that is more crypto native, or whatever you want to call it. It's just a diverse asset class that they can place their crypto into. So we're really kind of right on that fine line of a marriage of both between the two of them. And that's what's super exciting. And I think that's how we gain mass adoption within the space.
Well, and I'm just going to stress the other thing, and this also came up in a conversation, because a guy that I know, and, you know, he's done multiple financings, you know, with us, and he's a valued advisor on a ton of things. He called me up and he said, I need to talk to you. How do you borrow against cryptocurrency? And I'm like, well, it depends on what cryptocurrency it is. And I said, I can, you know, if it's Bitcoin, I can arrange stuff, and maybe Ethereum, I can help you arrange stuff. I said, but the volatility of Bitcoin, you could put in, they only give you, you know, 50% loan to value, maybe up to 70%. But the volatility, if that, you know, just that goes down like it does sometimes, and, you know, pops right back up again, you could lose all your Bitcoin just on that one drop down. It's gone, you're liquidated, and you're out. This is something that you could potentially borrow against because it's an asset. You own the token, and it's an asset that's verifiable, that it's there, it's real world. We know that the best place to hold, wealth is in land, and land typically appreciates, and they're definitely not making any more Tuscany land. So this is your shot to get into there. But the other thing you brought up, Venezuela, but if people are looking, they don't have sound money, and they're not in the Eurozone, and they're not in the, the United States dollar zone. This is the perfect way not only to get involved with a beautiful, resort but you can also park your money there too, and know that the value, I'm going to say this, because I believe it. I don't think the value of this is going to depreciate like, some other fiat currency is going to depreciate. And it's definitely going to be way more stable. I'm going to bet that it's an easier thing to borrow against than Bitcoin because of the stability of it.
Easier to borrow against, and it's an absolutely a perfect diversification strategy for any experienced investor. At some point, you have to diversify your gains, and I don't know that the crypto community has gone through enough cycles yet to know it's time to diversify. But we are an absolutely perfect diversification strategy for a small percentage of Bitcoin gains.
Right. So, Courtney, can you give us the website one more time that they should go to?
It is Tuscany National Resort and Club.it, all spelled out.
Okay. I thank all three of you for coming on. Really excited about the project. And we will also have, on our website, some of the pictures of it and, some of the parts from the deck so that it will show you, how beautiful this is. You can go to our website, blockchainrealestatesummit.com. That's blockchainrealestatesummit.com. I want to remind everybody that this was not financial advice. This was not legal advice, and this was not accounting advice. So you should always, contact your professionals that you trust and know before making any investment. I also want to remind everybody that the Blockchain Real Estate Summit is coming up September 24th through the 26th. You can go get your tickets at blockchainrealestatesummit.com. That's blockchainrealestatesummit.com. The three of you, I really appreciate you coming, and I really appreciate all of our listeners. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Blockchain Real Estate Podcast, hosted by the Blockchain Real Estate Summit. Don't forget to sign up for the Blockchain Real Estate Summit 2024, happening this September 24th through 26th, online for our worldwide audience. Get your tickets at blockchainrealestatesummit.com/registration. If you enjoyed today's episode, please make sure to follow the Blockchain Real Estate Podcast on your favorite platform and leave us a review. Your feedback really helps increase the visibility of our show, allowing us to reach more listeners like you. If you have someone in mind you would like us to interview, you can go to blockchainrealestatesummit.com and leave a comment.
Hi, this is Adam Carswell, the voice of Liberty. This podcast is solely intended for informational and entertainment purposes only and is not intended to provide tax, legal, investment, or accounting advice. You should consult your own tax, legal, accounting, or investment advisors before engaging in any transaction or undertaking. Thank you for listening to the Blockchain Real Estate Podcast, which is a part of the Blockchain Real Estate Summit Network. Go to blockchainrealestatesummit.com for more information, free reports, and giveaways with free stuff. Thank you.